Let's talk about the difference between hardware and software when it comes to the brain.
Okay, so hardware, software, we talk about the hardware being all of the neural circuits, neural pathways. So literally all the hardwired structures that are in the brain. So the brain, you have something like 86 billion neurons in the brain. That's part of the hardware. Between those neurons, there are anywhere from 10,000 up to 40,000 different connections between neurons, which is just means there's an absolutely just astronomically high number of different connections between neurons in the brain. So that's all the hardware, and we can create new ones. We can create way more new connections between neurons. We can actually create new neurons as well, which is also an amazing concept to think about. That's our hardware. We all wire about 50% the same. So because you think every experience that you have, you're going to create new connections around that experience as you try and understand it and you try and encode that information. So your life experience is very different from mine and very different from the next person and the next person and so on and so forth. And so those experiences that you've had will have created a unique profile of connections within the brain. So we say we all wire about 50% the same, and then that other 50% is really down to our life experience and the different programs that we run, the parental software that we run, because our different parents give us different information and we subscribe to their beliefs because they're the authority figures in our lives, and certainly our different teachers and our friends and all of that sort of stuff. All of that literally reshapes these different programs, and it's those programs that we kind of call the software. So the software is literally the firing patterns and the way that those different electrochemical signals and electrical signals fire throughout the brain, and the different programs that we have stored. So if you look at the subconscious mind, we can say that thought, when it reaches the subconscious mind, thought instantly becomes a belief. So a thought in the subconscious mind is a subconscious belief. Reason for that is we say the subconscious mind is a lot like a child's mind. It's like a little kid. It doesn't think critically, it doesn't argue, it doesn't debate, it literally just accepts. If information reaches the subconscious space, it's a lot like a little kid, it just accepts. So if you look at a little child and mum and dad say, "Oh, you're just a lovely little child, aren't you? So caring, so kind," that child completely believes it because they're not arguing, they're not thinking critically about that information, they're just accepting what's said, and that gets laid down as a new program. So thought that reaches the subconscious space is a subconscious belief. Now those beliefs write programs. Those programs dictate our emotions, our thoughts, our behaviors, our feelings, our preferences, our biases, our physiological states of being. They dictate our movement patterns. They dictate so much throughout our life. And so I'm going to assume, so your vocation, doing what you do and being as amazing as you are at it, I'm going to just give you an example of that in an athletic sense. And so in my lifetime, my father was an incredible distance runner. Probably should have gone to 3 Olympic Games. In the end went to none because he literally just went to the States on a scholarship and just got ruined, with injuries and whatnot. But ran some just unbelievable times, and I, as a little kid, infatuated with that. I thought I was going to be a distance runner just like my dad. Wanted to be just like dad. And so I saw myself as a distance runner, saw myself as this incredible endurance athlete. And I had a big engine. I could run and run and run, and I just wouldn't get tired. And I saw myself as the slow twitch athlete. And I never made it in athletics. I did okay, made state, made nationals, did a bunch of things, went overseas, but I never really, wasn't a world beater. And I wanted to be a world beater, so I ended up switching sports. And when I found Taekwondo, and I found a different coach, and I still remember the moment, and this is the thing with the subconscious. When you are suggestible, that's when you can get information into that subconscious mind, and you can change the software. So a coach, someone who is really trusted, really respected, that athletes listen to, when a coach speaks in an impassioned voice and impassioned sense, that information can really reach the subconscious. And so you can put this really powerful information in as a coach that can change the athlete. So you kind of need to make sure that you're careful about what you say. You're 100% genuine, and you just don't give them falseness, because you'll retain that power and that relationship with that mind that you're working with. So this particular coach of mine, he called me over to his house for a barbecue one evening, and sat me down after dinner and just had a chat and just literally just laid out on the table my whole future. and just said, look, mate, stop stressing, stop worrying. You're going to be Australian champion. You're going to go overseas. You're going to win all these comps. You're going to do this, that, and the other thing. You're going to beat all these guys that you're worried about. And the words that just absolutely dropped my jaw to the floor was he just said, I remember he said, you got all the natural talent and you got all the fast twitch muscle fibers that you need. Like, you're going to do amazing things. And I just thought, fast twitch muscle fibers? Like, are you kidding? Like, I don't have a single one of those. I'm the slow twitch guy. And he found it. He literally got my brain looking for these fibers. So they were there. I just wasn't using them. My brain wasn't accessing them. You know, and I actually ended up becoming one of the fastest guys in the division because this guy believed in me, gave me that belief. My brain started looking for those fast twitch fibers, and they were available when I started to kick and punch, and my whole game changed. And it's truly an amazing thing.
So you'd kind of programmed yourself.
Yeah.
You programmed yourself to think that you were slow twitch because
Yep.
you had an engine, you were endurance based at that stage.
Yep.
And then he was like, he saw you training and was like, oh, this guy's got some fast twitch fibers, and he said that to you, and then you started looking for those fibers and started training in that manner.
It's an amazing thing.
That's crazy, man.
It is. Well, you think. So this is the saying is seeing is believing. It couldn't be more false. So seeing is believing is something that everybody says. You will believe. You will believe things. You will be able to perceive the things that your brain believes are there to perceive. So the things that your subconscious mind believes are there for your visual cortex to be able to transduce and interpret, that's what you'll end up seeing. You know, and it's like what you believe. So when you believe it first, then you'll be able to see it. So it's like when we talk about those states of communication in the nervous system, my brain couldn't see those fast twitch muscle fibers. So I was going to training. Coach was saying kick as fast as you can. I was kicking, and consciously I was frustrated because I was really slow. Right, so I was frustrated, but my brain, which was running the program, I am a slow twitch athlete, my brain was looking at that and going, no, that's right. No, we're sweet. That's the belief. That's the program. No, that's exactly what we expect. Whereas when he changed the program to I'm a fast twitch athlete, and then I went and kicked and it was really slow, and I was still frustrated, my brain looked at that and just went, that's not right, because we're a fast twitch athlete. Like, it's got to be faster than that. And all of a sudden, like, speed started to improve, you know, and look, he gave me the appropriate drills and the training techniques as well, but you know, it was 100% the mind understanding that, seeing that completely changed the picture. So it's really powerful stuff, and that's the power of changing that subconscious mind. When you change that software, you start running different programs. The output is completely different. So and as a coach, if you're an authority figure, if you're a trusted authority figure, you've got a lot of influence. You've got a lot of power, you know, over your athletes to change those programs. So understanding that is such a powerful thing, and any good coach will probably have had those moments that they'll be able to tell you that it just, you give athletes those words and they become like self-fulfilling prophecies, you know, and it's like, but that's what's happening, you know, you're shifting those programs and then the athlete just goes and makes it happen.
That's a great point, mate. That ties into what I was speaking about before with my mates with PTSD and the stories they tell themselves, right? Like, I looked at certain events that they went through as well, and I just reframed how I told myself that story, and I was like, well, what lessons can I take away from that? And you know, that changes your perception, that changes that program, right? So then you can use that program to benefit you in the future or in the present moment, which is going to impact your future rather than, you know, negatively impact you. Yeah, mate. That's incredible stuff, mate.
100%. And can I just say, so what you just said there is actually really powerful, really key, and it's a beautiful strategy. So if anybody wants to take a leaf out of Coach Cobb's book, that's like a really awesome thing to do. So what you just said, you know, traumatic situations, stressful situations, and you looked at it and just said, well, hang on, what lessons can I take out of that? What growth is available for me? Like, how can I reframe that? Can I look at it differently? So think of this, depending on the level of mind you're at, if you're existing in duality, and duality is a lower level of mind where we see pairs of opposites, everything's positive or negative, right? If we're in duality, then really all events are neutral. If we're living holistically, then everything's perfect. And it's like basically but neutral, perfect. There's no positive or negative. So you can say all events are neutral until someone comes along and judges it with an incomplete awareness. And when we judge it with an incomplete awareness, we're judging it with the brain. Judging means that we're drawing on past information, and judgment becomes impossible without the past. So if we're judging things, we have to be drawing on information from the past so we can make sense of this moment and then apply a judgment. And a judgment will be some level of rejection. And remember, the brain has a negativity bias, so it's always going to err towards that side of negative and see more negative than the positive. And so like we just said, your visual cortex or your senses are going to perceive, they're going to transduce the information that the brain and the programs believe is there to perceive. So if we're inherently negatively biased, then we're going to get more of that information. So when you look at a situation and we think all events are neutral, if we actually look at it instead of just jumping at the negatives that seem glaringly obvious, and we say actually, there's growth here available. There's what am I learning out of this? Who is this affecting in a positive way? Who is this, how is this affecting me? Where's the meaning? The meaning isn't available here. The meaning might be available decades down the track to this, to this moment. And then if I can just leave that event neutral, I can actually take the growth and the learning out of that. I don't get stressed, and I can actually just be calm and be with it. So be with what is. So the question that I get clients to ask is when people are really stressed and really trying to judge a situation really negatively, and traumatic events from war is right up there. If you can just ask yourself, you look at the situation and you say, okay, the universe is perfect, all situations are neutral, and I know all situations are neutral just because they are, or I know this is perfect because the universe is perfect, so therefore this moment must be perfect. I can just, whatever I need to say to accept that, and then look at it and say, okay, do I have full, complete, and whole quantum awareness? Quantum awareness means all quantum everything that's entangled to this moment over distance, over time, every person that's somehow involved in this situation or not, every possible thing that is involved in this moment, do I have full awareness over all of those things and how they're being affected by this moment throughout the course of eternity? Because remember, the meaning to what's happening now in that traumatic incident might not be available for decades. It might not even be available in this lifetime. So if we ask the question, do I have all the information? I'm trying to judge this moment. Do I have all the information? Do I know how this is affecting everybody throughout the entire course of time? And if the answer comes back no, as it's going to be for most people, well, then you kind of have to look at it and go, well, how can I possibly judge this? How can I possibly judge this moment effectively? I can't actually judge it effectively. So that means I've got really no choice than other to just sit with it and be with what is, which means come back to that present moment awareness. And then I can sit there and go, okay, well, where's the meaning? Where's the growth? Where's the learning? What makes this moment significant? And remember, the brain hates an open loop. And this is kind of like reverse engineering anxiety or reverse engineering OCD. What you're doing is creating a question that's going to drive the brain mad when you say, well, where's the learning in this? Where's the growth in this? I know the situation's perfect, but I just can't see why right now. That's going to annoy the hell out of the brain. You're basically just throwing a hand grenade and say, off you go, brain, deal with that. Go and find the answer for me. And you're putting this amazing computer to work for you, but for a good cause, rather than just spiraling yourself out of control. So what you just said was awesome, because that's 100% the process. Is just reframe it, look at it. How could I look at this differently? Where's the growth? Where's the learning? There must be something in this. And you just what you did is you gave yourself permission to allow yourself to just be with that moment. And then, funnily enough, you didn't find yourself, chronically traumatized. It's beautiful what you've done.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I think that comes down to my NLP, neuro-linguistic programming course that I did. Which is, so powerful, man. It's something I talk about on the podcast all the time. But I like what you just said then about, the brain doesn't like an open loop. So if it does have an open loop, it's going to look for an answer. And if it can't find an answer, it's going to create an answer. And you actually, how you speak to yourself and how you manage and organize your thoughts is going to determine what sort of outcome that your brain comes up with, what sort of answer it comes up with, whether it's going to be a positive answer or a negative answer.